Here goes that intro. What up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 197, recorded Sunday, January 13th, 2019. Our second show in the beautiful, brand spanking new year of 2019. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Poughkeepsie tapes chosen by our lovely patron, Jose M. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Southern Korea, my boy Soju.
What up? It's your boy Poughkeepsie Stains or whatever.
So part of New York City you never knew was there. Poughkeepsie.
I know. I'm curious now. I wonder if there's ever existed a South Korean serial killer here, and maybe in the beautiful streets of Seoul. I'm gonna track it down.
We should do a segment. Like, we should definitely talk about a South Korean horror movie and then do a special segment on that show where we talk about South Korean serial killers.
Yeah, maybe we should do like an international serial killers. Whoa.
Okay, the show is canceled. We're going to talk about I Saw the Devil.
We need to track it down.
Yeah.
Do some research.
Randy Guinea G-Landy cannot make it tonight. He's too cool for school, if you know what I'm saying. But
he's out there doing hookers and banging blow, you know? You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to do a hooker, says Randy. Picking up the slack for Randy Guinea G-Landy, we got our boy, fan favorite on the show, Mikey.
Hi.
Michael, what's your problem?
I'm just trying to recover from a hangover right now. That's my problem.
Good. Hydrate. Pull in the hydration station.
Yes, sir.
So, talking about the poo-poo tapes tonight.
Damn.
It's a pretty fucked up movie, which is right up Mikey's alley. We're happy to have you here, sir.
Hey, that's me.
We're happy that you're with us tonight. It's going to get weird.
Our extreme specialist.
Mike.
What's up? My name's Mike.
I'm really into fucked up shit. Righteous.
I love the pick. I love this guy's pick.
Yeah.
Keep it coming. Keep the gross and disturbing movies coming.
I know the next couple people seem to be taking advantage of that, precedent set by you, Mike.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Our patrons are masochists, apparently. Just they like torturing us. This is it, the audio version of torture porn. You're welcome.
That's just our every week show.
That's exactly what it is. Dear God, turn it off. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. The February poll pick is still live on our Patreon page. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you can vote on a movie that we're going to talk about in the month of February. The movies that are up there you can vote on are, it's either going to be Ghost, Audition, or My Bloody Valentine. And at the last time I checked, Audition was definitely winning. So
I'm actually pretty excited about that because I had not actually heard of that movie, and now I'm really excited to watch it. Potentially watch it.
No shit.
I really want to see that too. Wait a minute, you say Ghost as in like...
Yeah.
Like Patrick Swayze?
Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg Ghost.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, if that's not horror, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So Audition. How you don't know the numbers?
I think it was like 6 votes for Audition and maybe like 3 or 4 for My Bloody Valentine and 0 goose egg for Ghost.
Not 10?
Not 10 somehow.
You sure you didn't miss-see the 1 in front of that 0?
Pretty sure. I wonder who chose Ghost. I wonder what's in a wonder ball.
I chose Audition. So.
Totally. A movie you never heard of before. Quick shout out and thank you to a new patron, Becky G, who signed up while we were recording
Who is
our
that?
last show. Yeah, I know.
I think we
Side
announced it
texted
mid
us.
last show as
It was
she
like,
was doing it
it's done, bitches. It's been
from
done.
Randy's bedroom.
So we're going to be talking about her movie in, I don't know, probably like a month or two, honestly. We've got a lot of other patrons to get through. Just a quick reminder, the $10 level on Patreon is still up if you want to pick a movie for us to review. I think there's like 1 or 2 spots left. So jump on that if you're interested. We're also doing the Q&A section for episode 200, which is just 3 weeks away. So if you have a burning question for anyone on the show, send that in to us and we will address it on that episode. Juice, you want to talk about your twitching for a little bit?
Yeah. If you didn't hear maybe last episode, we are now on Twitch, which is streaming for video games. So you can find us at twitch.tv/Straight Chilling Podcast. I just yesterday finished up a game called Little Nightmares. You can find those streams if you missed them live. You can find them. They are on Twitch for a little while, but they will be permanently up on YouTube as well. You can watch them there if you're interested in some horror video games. We're going to continue that on. I have a weird schedule for January, so it's mostly going to be limited to Saturday nights at 9 p.m. For January. But once my regular schedule kicks in for February, March, and everything like that, hopefully try to get some regular kind of weeknights in on that too, maybe around 8 or 9 p.m. every night. So we got lots of games to go through. Bob's got an Xbox now. Our boy Mike has an Xbox, so we might be doing some collaborative plays on there. So yeah, we're gonna keep that going. Definitely at least on a minimum on a weekly basis. So if you're interested in horror video games, definitely check that out on Twitch or YouTube.
Cool. And you plan to eventually, like, as you complete these games, you're gonna start doing like video game reviews too, right?
Yeah, once we wrap one up, I'll try to do a full review on it, kind of like we do a movie, but it will be on YouTube instead of on like Spotify or anything like that. So that'll be some original YouTube content you can get. We are getting very close. We have reached over the 60 subscribers mark, I think, on YouTube. And we need to hit 100 so we can designate that custom URL. So we can say /Straight Chilling Podcast. You can find video game reviews and blah, blah, blah. So if you would kindly stop what you're doing, go to YouTube, search Straight Chilling Podcast, and hit subscribe once you see our beautiful logo pop up.
Yes, it will help us help you find us.
Yep.
Last but not least, we have a special guest on the show. He stopped by to talk about his movie premiere happening at Sunray Cinema in Jacksonville, Florida this Saturday the 19th. A gentleman by the name of Sam Farmer. He's a local filmmaker. The name of his movie is Cry for the Bad Man. The premiere is going to be at 2 o'clock on this Saturday, and if you stick around to the end of the show, you can hear an interview with him, and he talks a little bit about the movie, what you can expect to see. There's going to be some of the actors and filmmakers are going to be in attendance. You can meet them. They're going to do a Q&A, all that fun stuff. And he said there might even be like an after party going on. So if you're local, definitely show up at Sunray, buy your ticket in advance because they will sell out. And stick around to the end of the show to check out that interview. That's it for housekeeping. Let's get into what we've been watching this week, gentlemen. Juice, what you been watching?
Dude, real quick, I want to take an opportunity to talk about that movie, Cry for the Bad Man. It was done by a local filmmaker, Samuel Farmer. And one thing I wanted to talk about, it's a cool movie shot here. A local filmmaker shot locally, full-length feature, and it's a home invasion style horror, and it's actually done really well. I was actually really impressed with the end product. of it. We've covered a couple local films so far, and I think this one's my favorite. Like real quality stuff. But one thing I wanted to mention, it's kind of just it's definitely got this southern style to it, the southern flair. But there are just a couple things that makes Jacksonville like really stand out to me because they don't really like specifically say in the movie. But there's this one time where there's this like older dad and he's talking to his son in a barn, and they're kind of talking about like planning this home invasion. So they're kind of these, like fucked up people. But as he's leaving the barn, so he's in the barn, so you get this like southern style, but he's leaving and you get to see he's wearing his jeans with his flip-flops.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jacksonville, boom,
I noticed
right
that
there.
too. Yeah.
Dude, it like that was one of the things. And at another point, like there's like an old photograph of like somebody in like a mug shot, and it says like Jacksonville Police Department or whatever. But that like one specific like jeans with the flip flops, I was like, boom, Jacksonville right there. That's that southern flair I like to see. Or that, I mean, yeah. So that local flair, I guess. But no, it was a cool movie. So if you can check it out, Sunray Cinema, definitely check that out. If not, keep an eye out for maybe some festival showings or just, future showings. And other than that, I'm really going to try to get into some South Korean horror while I'm here and everything like that. So I watched a movie called Office from 2015. I think it's available on Netflix. It's available on my Netflix, so maybe you guys have it too. And it was pretty solid. It was kind of like office worker kind of goes crazy and like murders people kind of style of movie. So it was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. I'm trying to kind of get the local flavor,
Nice. Yeah, I've heard of that. I have not seen it. I'd like to see it though. I'd like to get into some more South Korean horror as well. Really, just like Eastern horror movies in general. I haven't seen a ton. I've seen like some Takashi Miike stuff, and like Train to Busan, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
So
cool. I'm trying to lock in because, like, I mean, from some of the movies I've seen, just like made in South Korea, just in general, I'm like kind of like a big fan. There was that movie that came out earlier this year. I think it's called Virus or something translated to English, but I can't remember the Korean name. It was about like the zombies. It was like Train to Busan style, but it was like back in the old days, like swords and shit. So that was really solid, and I love the fucking Wailing, and Office was solid, and of course like movies like Old Boy and shit like that. So I'm like, I really want to like lock it in this year and like invest some time into getting to know it while I'm living here. I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that'll add something new to the show too that we haven't really got into before.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it too.
Diversity.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, man?
No, that's it.
Cool. Michael, what you been watching?
Well, I haven't been watching a lot lately. I did watch the original Texas Chainsaw this past Monday.
Nice.
That was pretty cool to watch. And then one of my New Year's resolutions, I guess you could say, one, after listening to you guys top 10 of last year, I don't watch a lot of recent horror movies.
Okay.
So I've been living in the past for quite a bit. So I want to do that, but also watch more anime again. So I've started Naruto, and it's like 900 episodes. So
wow.
I'm taking that leap, and I think I've only watched about 30 episodes so far. So
Jesus.
That is a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
Holy
So
shit.
they're like 30 minutes?
Yeah, like 22.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the typical, but still, like, they have this series, and then when they get older, the Shippuden series, that's a total of, like, I think, I'm not even exaggerating, I think literally it's like 900 episodes.
Wow.
Not even including all the movies that they put out for that shit, so, yeah.
That's
Bless
intense.
you, child.
Oh, I need something, right?
Godspeed.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention, Bob and I watched Pool Party Massacre yesterday. That is going to be the worst movie I've seen in 2019, and I don't think anything's going to top it. It was terrible.
Calling the shots.
Yeah,
Starting the year off right.
Holy shit, was it bad.
It's wretched. Like, we watch a lot of bad movies, and sometimes we'll give the disclaimer, like, if you watch this with like a beer and like some friends, it's a good time. Even that could not save this movie.
We fast forwarded the last like 40 minutes, and the movie's only an hour and like 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't even recommend it. I'd rather watch a Serbian film 3 times before watching that again.
Damn.
No.
What year was it made?
2017.
Roughly. Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're trying to pay a whole homage of like the 80s slasher films. I had high hopes for it. I thought it was going to be really cool, but Christ, it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, don't watch that movie.
Don't watch it.
Anything else?
That's it, man.
I've been watching some stuff, some pretty good stuff actually I want to talk about. The first one is a movie called The Ranger, which written and directed by Jim Wexler, and it's like a punk rock slasher movie that's set in the woods, and there's this deranged park ranger that takes the rules like incredibly seriously, and should you break any of them, he just murders you brutally. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely got that 80s vibe going for it, and it's got like these punk rockers and like a punk rock soundtrack kind of happening. It's definitely a low budget thing, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's very stylish, goofy, entertaining. Some of the kills are pretty cool. The one thing about this, I think as of right now, you can only buy it from Walmart. It's like a Walmart exclusive, and you can only buy it on DVD. But
it kills me how like
Yeah.
Walmart. It's like a lot of these obscure horror movies. They're only Walmart exclusives, and they don't have a Blu-ray release. That drives me crazy.
That's wild. Especially because
Yeah.
I remember like Walmart used to be on that whole thing where it was like, maybe they still do, where they didn't sell like CDs that had parental advisory on it and stuff. So to have like
Yeah, it's I don't know. I definitely recommend stopping by Walmart and giving them your $10 and buying it. But it's a really fucking good movie.
you don't sound
I enjoyed it.
like
I was gonna ask you.
behind that
I've only seen
endorsement.
I've only seen the case like through pictures and online. Is the fucking killer Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell? It looked just like him.
I don't know. Let me see. Let me see if I can find out. Is his name
That would be awesome.
Jeremy Holm? Is that the same guy?
I just know him by Zach Morris.
Well, damn it,
Because I'm a good American.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I don't know. So, no, I don't think it is. I'm kind of scrolling through IMDb very quickly. I don't see any Saved by the fucking Bell on here. So, no, I don't believe so.
I was gonna say if that was really Zach Morris, I bet the sales for that movie was gonna just spike up crazy.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I also watched a movie called Bad Times at the El Royale, which was written and directed by Drew Goddard.
Yeah, I forgot about
Who
that.
did?
How was it?
It was great. It was
Good.
really, really good.
Good. I completely forgot.
Yeah, he did Cabin in the Woods prior to this. The thing about this movie is it's like it's so Quentin Tarantino, but it's like it wears that on its sleeve. It's not like trying to hide that from you. But the good thing about it is that I feel like Tarantino's dialogue, specifically in like his last couple movies, is almost like he's always indulged himself, but he seems to be so like too comfortable to where he's like overindulgent with his fucking dialogue. Like Hateful Eight's great, but for the love of God, you could cut 30 minutes of dialogue out of that thing, no problem. And like this movie here is like less self-indulgent in that way. There's like a lot of characters and there is a lot of dialogue, but it's just they're not going on and on and on about a fucking cheeseburger or something. You know, it's a little easier to swallow this medicine. It's shot beautifully. The cast is insane. It's great. I'd highly recommend checking out Bad Times at the El Royale. It's good.
Very cool.
Yeah. I watched a bunch of other stuff too, but I guess I should probably save some for next week. So I'll do that. I'll just give those two ringers. Check them out. That's it. That's it for what we've been watching. Let's go ahead and get into the main event. Talk about the poo-poo tapes. Start off with the back of the box. Poughkeepsie tapes from 2007, as chosen by our lovely patron, Jose M. The plot synopsis is as follows. In an abandoned house in Poughkeepsie, New York, murder investigators uncover hundreds of tapes showing decades of a serial killer's work. So if you are unfamiliar with this movie, it's got sort of this true crime documentary vibe going for it. These detectives are sort of showing you highlights of these tapes and like the different gruesome events that were captured on them. And it kind of spends a lot of its time on like one specific victim whom the vast majority of the tapes are of her, this poor woman called Cheryl Dempsey. She seems to get the worst of it. And I don't know. Have you guys, were you aware of this movie? It's kind of like one of those infamous horror films that people have like whispered about for quite some time. Were you aware of it? Had you seen it before? And would you recommend people check it out? Juice, why don't you kick us off?
I wasn't aware of this, even like in its like kind of status of being like fucked up. I don't think I really knew anything about it other than when it was picked. I kind of did a little research, but would I recommend it? No, I wouldn't. Except the only thing, for some reason, I feel like these people kind of stick out in the horror community a little bit as being kind of like completionist. So I guess I would recommend it to like a found footage type of, like those people who like really love found footage movies seem to like want to watch them all. So this would kind of fit that. So I think it would be a good watch for kind of like a found footage enthusiast. But as just a general watch, no, I wouldn't actually recommend this movie.
Okay. Mikey, how about you?
I probably wouldn't recommend this one either.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I wasn't aware of this movie until like last year, like just shopping off Scream Factory, and I was curious about what it was. I remember when I got it, I watched it late at night by myself, and I actually had to cut it up in halves because it actually kind of disturbed me a little bit, and that probably speaks volumes for just hearing that. Other from that, I think like if I found out about this when it originally came out, was it like 2007 or 2008?
Yeah, 2007.
It probably would have had more effect on me, but I'll save those comments for later in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend this actually, which
interesting.
I'm surprised I'm the only one. So the thing about this movie is I do not enjoy watching it. It's a difficult movie to get through. But if you're looking for a movie that like actually sort of messes with you and might stick with you, and when you're laying in bed at night trying to fall asleep, this shit's gonna creep into your mind and kind of fuck with you a little bit. This is one of those movies. Like it actually does scare me. It bothers me. And if you're looking for a movie like that, which they are genuinely difficult to find, especially if you watch like a horror movie a week or more like we do. This is one of those that sort of sticks out in my mind that's very effective, and I think the filmmakers achieved exactly what they wanted to achieve with a very minimal budget. And if you're looking for a movie like that, something that's actually going to kind of bother you, this is one that I would highly recommend, actually. Poughkeepsie tapes. So let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, and we'll get into the nitty gritty. I don't know why I said that like a question. The nitty gritty.
Yeah. So strap in. This might be a pretty good podcast because I'm surprised by everything that's been said so far. This might be one of those like where everybody stands kind of on a different ground because I'm coming into this with the same mentality I kind of had coming into Halloween, where I was like, everybody's going to hate this movie. I genuinely thought that, like, going into, like, the Halloween discussion, like, I couldn't wait for people to be like, oh, fuck this movie. But, like, now I'm like, whoa, what's going on with this movie? So, I don't know. Strap in.
Yeah, so this movie, It's like, so I guess it has this sort of reputation that sort of preceded it amongst the horror community. So like it came out in 2007, and I think it was only in theaters for like a week before it got pulled. So not many people got to see it, and then it got like a limited release again on like VOD through like some sort of satellite network or something like that. And then it was only up there for like a week or two, and then it got pulled again because it was like extreme or seen as too extreme. And then it was finally released in, what was it, 2017 or something like that. Scream Factory finally put it out on like Blu-ray and DVD, and that's sort of like the first time it had a wide release, which was like 2007 2017. It was a 10-year gap before the majority of people could really watch it. You know, obviously people torrented it and whatnot, but it was until 2017 before people could really watch it, before I was able to watch it anyways. So it kind of had this reputation about it that, you know, it just kept getting pulled. Nobody could watch this shit. And I think that probably hurt it in the long run because, you know, 2017, you've seen a lot of shit, a lot of really messed up shit, such as a Serbian film prior to that or whatever. But for some reason, this movie like bothered me more than like Blair Witch did, you know, as far as like found footage movies are concerned. Blair Witch is one of those things that it's like people look at that as definitely changing the game, and it did for sure. But I never found the Blair Witch to be that scary or disturbing.
I mean, I would definitely say this movie is more disturbing than the Blair Witch.
Yeah, so I think it definitely has its place, even if it did come maybe a little too late for its own good, you know. I don't know if this movie like reinvented anything by the time it got its wide release, you know. We'd kind of seen it, but for some reason, the way that it, like, the shots are so personal. Like the actual found footage, like that they play for you on the tapes as like the detectives are speaking in between them. Like the camera's so up close and like personal with the victims, and it's just like it's too fucking close for comfort, you know. It like gets under my skin and it like really bothers me, and because it's like you're just like right there, you're like staring them in the fucking eyes, you know, and they've got these weird masks on, and they're being like tortured, and it's fucked up.
I mean, that's what got to me also. Yeah. Like, it started out
really.
Yeah, just the fact that it could be any psycho living in your neighborhood and you have no idea. I mean, you're not aware about it. I mean, like, it started out with the little girl just playing in the front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes you scared about having kids in the future. Just leaving them alone in the front yard. The guy literally hit her in the head and threw her in the back seat and affected a young girl. Like, the girl was like, what, 9 years old in the movie?
Yeah, something like that. She's little, real little.
And that's what I was like referring to before we dropped the spoiler alert. Like, I didn't watch the Blair Witch when it first originally came out, and I know that set like that whole principle. Like, oh my god, is this real or not? Like, is this serious stuff? Like, that's why I said if I seen this movie when it originally was released, with like 2007. With you questioning if it was actually real or not, it probably would have had a lot more effect. But still, the fact that they put this in a movie and it gives you that awareness in the back of your head, it's kind of scary. And like you said, it hits too close to home for me to really enjoy a movie like this.
Dude, I'm going to say something that is very surprising to me, especially after hearing this.
Okay.
I wanted this movie to be more fucked up than it was.
Wow.
I know. I thought like I was, and let me say, and I don't want to get like, because we can describe, like we talked about the little girl and stuff like that. I think one of the things too was maybe just my going in, even though I didn't know much about this film, I did a little research, and even I guess the name of it and just the description, I didn't like kind of the format of the true crime style. I thought it was gonna be kind of more like, I guess my impression going in, I thought it was gonna be kind of like a VHS style, where like people are like going through tapes, and so maybe there's this like loose kind of wraparound, but the describing of it, and it served to like describe like the killer in that like how elusive he was and how he was able to like frame somebody else for the murders and how he was able to like mimic these different styles of serial killers to like throw people off. So, I mean, it served its purpose in that way, but I thought like those kind of parts and even see, I never felt one of the reasons I wanted it to be like more fucked up, which is weird to say, is the first like more than half of this movie, none of like the stuff was convincing to me. So because of that like true crime kind of feel, I always felt like I was watching a movie. So like even like the 911 call where the mom calls like about a little girl, there's never any kind of real desperation in those kind of portions. So yeah, you even see like a little girl, but like the little girl was a bad actress too, and she's like 8 years old. But I mean like the dialogue that goes on between it, like the idea is fucked up, like, oh, he's picking up this little girl and you're seeing it. But I never felt like that's what I was really watching, because I was like, I'm watching a movie because I felt like it wasn't delivered particularly well. So I felt like that style didn't necessarily serve the purpose of what this movie was trying, like this infamous status of what it was trying to achieve, because I never felt embedded in the movie until like the last 30 minutes. And I really wanted this. I wish it would have been much harder to watch, and like I would have had like a different type of review if this movie had reflected more of like the last 30 minutes style. But the last 30 minutes of this movie was more like is kind of what I expected to get, and it affected me. It gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like I mean it like the last maybe even just 20 minutes like really got under my skin, but it made me feel something like a kind of dread, whereas before I was just like, I'm watching this movie. I never felt like, embedded in it,
Yeah. That the true crime stuff, it just reminded me of like Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a designated host putting on a face or whatever. But it reminded me of that show, and I think I liked it because it just reminded me of like watching that in the late 90s as a kid, and it has some sort of like nostalgic charm, I guess, even though it is kind of corny, and I see what you're saying, but I liked it. It appealed to me a little bit in that way. We can get into like I guess more of the specifics and stuff. Like there's a couple of funny things in this movie. Some are probably intentional, some probably are not intentional. There's that like one scene towards the beginning where he's making Cheryl Dempsey like jump up and down on a balloon, and he's like yelling at her to pop it. You remember that?
I don't even think that was. I think that was just a random when he was like picking up prostitutes. I think that was just. But no, yeah, that like, and even the guy talking about it, he was like, I'm the only one who's like seen all these tapes. He's like like some scrub working at the police department. He's got to go through all the tapes, but.
He says he's like 100 hours of balloon footage
of just balloon like fetishes going on, and there is like that one where he's just like pop it. Also, like that kind of I didn't like that type of demeanor from the killer, like when he like loses like the control, because they're talking about this guy and they're describing this guy that I don't feel like is reflected a lot of the time, like the way he talks to the little girl, or like the way he's like pop it, like he like freaks out. It's like kind of cheesy, it's like kind of corny, and that's like part of the reason why I was like, I'm not believing what they're telling me, like, oh, this mastermind killer, but like he just like freaks out in these like kind of weird spasms in his videotapes. I'm just like, it didn't seem to match to me.
Yeah, I could see that. It doesn't seem very like collected at all.
Yeah,
flying off the handle. The whole time I was watching this movie, whenever he has a little freak out like that, I just envision like somebody running into frame and beating the shit out of him. It's like I just wanted that to happen so bad.
Yeah, and also too, like they cop out a little bit with the true crime. And not that I want to see this, but since they present it to me, I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like toward the beginning, they're like talking about his crimes, and one of the things was like he killed a couple. But they tell you, they said like, oh, he killed a couple and then decapitated like the man and like kept the woman alive and like sewed the man's head like into her womb or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and that's like setting up the movie. So I'm like, well, god damn, I'm about to like be like shown some terrible things. But see, they overhype themselves. Like that's like toward the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, like what type of terrible movie am I about to watch? And then they're just like, but then there's not even any kind of hint of it. So I'm just like, well, I mean, I don't want to see that, but like it's like they're not like really.
I mean, they show somebody's head sewn onto somebody's torso.
It's just like the tape footage is kind of sloppy.
Yeah, but it's just like
it's like
that. I mean, it's not like him like doing it. I don't know.
No,
and that was part of the thing too. A lot of the times where it's like found footage, like I know what you're saying, like where it's up in their face and their eyes and stuff, but a lot of times like the angles are terrible, like as it would be.
Yeah,
but a lot of the times it's purposely done so like you can't see things so they can elude, and I'm just like, well, this doesn't look very good. I don't know. I'm conflicted because what I'm asking for is terrible. Like that's the thing. What I wish, like, it's like it would be a totally different type of review where I would be like, I can't believe they're showing me these terrible things. But I feel like since they're like hyping it up that way, I feel a little cheated. Like, well, damn, like you can't tout yourself up like as being like so fucked up and then kind of like cop out, you know? That's kind of what I feel like.
I don't know. I felt like they delivered on what they promised. But then again, like, there's certain scenes, like I know tension tends to bother you a lot, Juice. There's like that one pretty long sequence actually in the middle of the movie where he's just in a house stalking this couple, basically. They have no idea he's in there, and he's like hiding in the closet. He's like standing in the bathroom while the lady's taking a shower, and he's like hiding behind the couch while they're taking a nap. And, he's just like watching them, and eventually he does kill him. But like that whole sequence of him just like following them throughout the house and they have no idea he's there, I found that to be like very simple but very effective. I don't. Did that bother you at all with your tension shit?
It didn't, but I will say the first scene that actually made me go like, wow, like that really like affected me in any way. That didn't really, and I think part of that was like the dialogue between the couple was so shit. Like it really wasn't, and that's where it was like I was like I'm watching this low rate movie where they couldn't hire like decent actors or like the dialogue couldn't be written like decently. That's where he steals the girl, what's her name? Dempsey. What is it? Carol?
Cheryl Dempsey.
That's where he steals her away, and and that's another thing like that where they're like talking to the cop afterwards, and they're like, "What was the crime scene like?" And he was like, "Oh, he like removed the genitals from the boy and he threw his intestines like all over the wall." You don't see like not even like close to any of that. Like not like you see him like get like stabbed maybe, but that's where the one scene though that first caught my attention, which is like it's pretty deep in the movie though, is the Girl Scout scene. That shit, I was like, okay, like, so he steals this Cheryl away in that one scene. That was like maybe halfway through the movie, and through the rest of the movie, he's abusing her to like be his like slave essentially, like he's like
sex slave.
Yeah, he's like breaking her down, but he also like forces her to like murder some of the people he can. Like he's really breaking her down. And there's this one scene where some Girl Scouts come to his home, knock on the door and ask like, "Oh, do you want to buy some cookies?" He invites them in. He like convinces them like he's a police officer, so it's like safe and stuff. And even like their dialogue like wasn't very good. But at the end of it, he lets them go. Like he doesn't actually abduct these little girls, but he's filming them the whole time. But they're sitting like in his living room. As the girls leave, he pulls back the sheet over his table, and it's not a table. It's Cheryl Dempsey just been sitting there while like the little girls like drink tea or whatever, and like she's got this fucked up mask on. And the shot, that was actually a really great shot using the video camera, is like actually of a mirror reflecting like her like masked face, and you can like see her eyes, the mask. I was like, okay, like here's the that was the first moment I was like, here's the movie that was promised me. I was like, that's fucked up. Like that idea, like just like to get in like under my skin that way. That was the first time it like really was effective, like for me. I love that. Like I was like, holy, like that. I verbally like said out loud, like, holy shit. Like I don't like that was the first like actual reaction I had to this movie.
Yeah, it was cool how they turned that scene on its head, where you're like, they're building the tension with these Girl Scouts, and you're like, oh my God, this dude's absolutely going to do horrible things to these girls. And he's like, all right, well, I guess you better leave. And then you're like, holy shit, this was fucked up in a way I never knew it could be fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. Never. It like totally surprised me. And I was like, oh God.
Why?
I was so nervous for that scene because I don't like seeing children getting abused. And I
Sure,
thought,
yeah.
we already saw the little girl at the beginning of the movie get abducted and get hit over the head. So when I saw the 2 Girl Scouts go in there, I was like, gosh damn it, don't do it again.
Yeah.
But that girl, Cheryl, he put that bitch through the fucking ringer. I mean,
Oh
and when he first got her, she was still in her pajamas, and he had her like tied up reverse pretzel style, and and he was like, "Your name is Slave. What's your name?"
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And she was screaming for her mother and stuff like that, and he was just telling her repeatedly, "I killed your entire family. They're dead. Don't."
Yeah, and he was like making her thank him. He was like, for killing her, even though he didn't actually kill her family. I don't think.
Oh no, because remember the mom.
She's in the end.
Yeah, they were doing the interview. Okay, so I didn't think so. Yeah, so that was For some reason though, I don't know that stuff. Like, yeah, it's like fucked up to say, but it didn't. I didn't feel it. I felt like I was watching a movie, but like to say it, like that actually is like to say like that's fucked up. But
didn't he also like approach his mother or her mother? I should
say?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, he acted like a volunteer. Yeah, he acted like a volunteer because they were like searching for a body like in the woods behind the house, and he was like, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And like the mom kind of like realizes it's him, but he like gets away or whatever.
He starts giggling a little bit, and then runs away, and she's like connects the dots. She's like, "Holy shit!"
But then they like draw a sketch of him because that was one of the things, like some of the consistencies, because like they like find footage of him like at a gas station where he's like misleading the cops, where he like he's so smart, he signs, but he's like always covering up his face. But the mom like clearly sees what he looks like and gives like a description of what he looks like, and they're in this small town, and I couldn't understand like why he wasn't ever able to be caught after that, because they're like, oh, Poughkeepsie or whatever, it's a small town, and like she sees his face and they show like where they draw his face, and they never catch him. So I was like, well, what was the whole point of saying like, oh, he never shows his face like even at a random gas station or whatever? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I don't know. There's some sort of suspension of disbelief for sure going on, whatever. But he then like kind of switches his MO up because they are getting too close to him, and he creates this whole other persona and like frames a police officer as being the quote Water Street butcher, and that guy ends up getting arrested, convicted, and then he gets the fucking electric chair, and then it's like the very next day or something. On 9/11, they realize that he's innocent and like post the news story, but it's obviously covered up by the massive 9/11 attack. So nobody hears about this poor guy that was like wrongfully convicted and executed, and like it's just sort of like it kind of makes the whole story somehow even worse. Like this guy just takes the rap for all these terrible murders.
Yeah. See, and that was one of those things where I really love the details of that, like the thought of it that goes into creating this thing where he frames a police officer and it's believable, and it's like prostitutes, and like, this guy actually does get prostitutes, so people are able to like pinpoint them, and then like, oh, the killer's just fucking with you guys, because literally like right after he's killed, he dumps another body and was like, fuck you guys, essentially. And then they have to like do the report, but and there's no way, of course, like the guy knew like 9/11 would happen, but like nobody cares, and the son is like all anybody talks about is my dad like being like this terrible, serial killer, but nobody realized like he was exonerated or whatever. But see, the problem with that is the son did such a bad job. Like I was like, man, they created such these amazing details, and the son just. I thought it was like so like badly like executed that I was like, well, god damn it, like. You're like giving me these like great little details, but you just like can't seem to pull it off. It was very frustrating to me.
You gotta cast your friends, man.
Yeah, that guy looked like he was a couch surfer. He lived off Hot Pockets.
Yeah, it looked like that dude got paid in cheeseburgers, and like probably did. Like, I was like, God damn it! Like, there was so much potential, and the fact that it was able to deliver on some of that potential too. I'm glad I got something out of it, because I was like, okay, like it wasn't like a waste of my time or anything like that. But it also makes me just like, no, like this movie could have been elevated to like this like status. Like it's not and it's such a hard thing for me to say, because it's not necessarily like I would have enjoyed watching that, but it would have like reached its potential. Yeah.
There was a scene in here that I guess it was supposed to sound menacing. I don't even really know, but it was like a total whiff for me, where he's like he's driving down the street in this cop car, and he picks up this lady who's like broken down on the side of the road, and she gets in the back, and she says, thank you, officer. And he's like, oh, why'd you call me officer? I'm a butcher. And she's like, what are you talking about? Oh my God. And he says, like, don't you know about assumptions? They make an ass out of you and me. And I was like, no way is that scary whatsoever.
It wasn't, but what I did like about that scene, that was really dumb. That was really dumb. And that was one of those things where I was like, why is this killer like such a dumb like I don't like the way they tout this guy up. But what I did like about that scene, they like really like got under my skin, like this movie's supposed to. And he's like, how about this? How about we just like get out and I rape you and then we call it a day? And she's like, okay. And like that for some reason like really made me go like, oh, like made like the stomach drop, like like that true like actual reaction. Like and he's like, how about we just I rape you, and she's like immediately like she's like scared for her life, and she's like, okay, like yeah, whatever you want or whatever. And I was just like, oh, like that actually was effective. But yeah, the part right before that was really dumb.
I like that scene too, Justin. Like the fact that this guy's really, his main goal, his end game with all these kills that he does is just he likes to play mind games. Like he told her straight up, he was like, okay, let's make a deal. You let me rape you. You don't try to fight back, and I'll let you go. And it's like, she's like, okay, let's do it. And he's like, I'm not gonna let you go. Are you serious?
Yeah,
like, no one's gonna want anything to do with you once I'm done, raping you or whatever. Yeah, the dude's sick. But he's an Ocean's 11 murderer.
He says something like, "You're gonna wish you were dead." Like, yep. Like he would prefer to be dead. Trust me.
And then remember how he killed her? How he came in the room crawling on the ground? Like,
oh, dude!
My God. That was actually kind of creepy.
Dude, that scene was what I was like, where has this been for this entire movie? Dude, that scene and then the final scene, like, dude, the heebie-jeebie, like, made, like, my skin, like, literally, like, crawl, like, I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, made me squirm, dude. When he comes into that room, and that's one of the things where the found footage is effective, because it's like right in this chick's face,
right
but it's like halfway off. And this, oh my God, that was so effective for such a low budget shot. There's this door in the back left corner, and he comes in, and he's like in all black.
Crawling on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
Crawling on all fours, but he's got this
with that mask on.
White mask, but it's in a way that's like on top of his head. Like he's not wearing it like a mask like over his eyes and his nose. It's like sitting on top of his head.
The back of his head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
and
looking
it's
down and it's
so-
on top of his head.
Like
it's
he's an
so
animal.
grainy,
Yeah.
like the shot is so kind of like out of focus and stuff that it looks so disturbing. It looks like he's doing a lot more than he's actually, like it looks like he's distorted. Like I don't know, it's like really
Contorting his
disturbing.
body.
Yeah, looking. But then when you like he lifts his head up and you realize like, oh, it's just like wearing it on the back of his head. But before that, you're like, what the fuck is like, what is he doing? Like I was like, how is he moving that way? Because it's so dark and grainy. And then he just like stabs that bitch in the neck with like a syringe or something. And he's got her mouth
Plastic tape.
is
Yeah.
taped
Duct
and
tape.
the blood just like seeps, like she's just like choking, like drowning in her own blood, or like that was
Fucked up.
that is what I expected from this movie. That scene was what I expected for an hour and a half's worth of movie.
Can I buy you that mask?
Yeah. Can I wear it on the top of my head exclusively?
Yes.
Just crawl
that
around
okay?
your house every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, just crawl around.
I want you to do a crawl in a circle for the viewers.
I'm just
Yeah.
palling around. Yeah, I'll just do that for hours. I'll
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
stream that for hours.
I'll watch it.
Dude, and we gotta talk about the payoff too. The payoff for this movie.
The payoff? I don't know. I don't know if I'd use that word.
Really? Oh my god. Okay, so they find this house. He leads them to this house, his home, where the Girl
Yeah.
Scouts are and everything like that. This is right after that scene where he's crawling around on the floor and stabs. So, okay, they find this house and that's where all the tapes are, but they also find a coffin with Cheryl inside.
Yeah.
And
she's
she's still alive. So they send her to the amputee, and at this point he's had her, I think they say 8 years since he originally abducted her and has been like abusing her and stuff. And at the very end they do this like, oh, like we've been trying, they do this interview with her, and that scene is so fucked up.
She was so used to taking orders.
Yeah, okay, this actress did the job I wish every other person was capable of doing, because she killed that shit. And I say payoff because those last handful of scenes almost delivered this movie for me, but then I remember the whole first over an hour was such a disappointment. But so they do this interview with this girl he's had for 8 years, and she does a great job acting. And essentially her whole thing is they're asking her questions like, what do you think? And she's like, I don't know what you want me to say. She's gotten so used to just
taking
repeating,
orders.
regurgitating, taking orders. She's like, look, and she
lost
does
her
the
free will. Yeah.
she does this nervous look around so well, what do you want me to say? And she keeps repeating it. And then also there's this moment where she scratches her head, and it's just this, her hand is gone. It's like a nub, but it's so subtle. They don't try to guide you or anything. And it's so disturbing. It's so effective in what it's trying to do. And then it finally breaks down to where she is actually he has contorted her mind in such a way where she's he's gonna come back to me, I love him, she loves him. She has this breakdown,
Stockholm syndrome thing.
Yeah, and then it gives this little note 2 weeks later, she kills herself or something like that. And it was just and when I say it delivered, it's just that was truly disturbing and made my gut drop. I was fuck, that.
You knew the type of power he had over her, because remember too, when they thought that they killed him, and that was the cop that they killed through lethal injection. Remember, he was at the bar watching the lethal injection on TV, just in a booth at a bar, and he was recording it on the TV, and then he put the camera down, and she was right in front of him. They were on date night drinking beer, and it just showed how
watching the game.
Yeah, just, watching the Cowboys.
Yeah.
but she just sat there, She
Yeah.
could have, yelled like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this
like,
guy's the
help,
butcher,
yeah.
this guy's the killer." But no, she just sat there and drank her beer, cider, whiskey, whatever girls drink, and
Manhattan.
Yeah, and even
Yeah.
when she was like a human table, where I mean, I guess they're little girls, and you're still like
Yeah.
in the, so that's less risky. But yeah, they do like the progress, like they show her progression because at one point, like he forces her to like cut the throat of another person there and stuff like that. So yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Old
Yeah.
old date night. Old Poughkeepsie, old Poughkeepsie date night.
They think they got me, but they didn't.
Oh, that's sweet. Oh. Cool. I don't know. I think we covered just about everything. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we give our ratings?
I don't have a lot more to
I
say
think that's like all
about
the
this.
scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty well covered it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into our ratings on this. Juice, why don't you kick us off? Out of 5, how do you feel about the Poughkeepsie tapes?
Damn, this is a hard one.
Yeah, it kind of is. I
It
feel
really,
you on
because
it.
the thing I like about it, and it's just from a standpoint of like, I know what they're trying to do and like how I feel like, did they like achieve it? I get, like it's so hard, but like even those things are not great to watch. It's just, I recognize that they're effective in the way they're supposed to be effective, like they're done in the way they're supposed to be done. I don't know, man. I don't ever like want to watch this movie again.
That's what I said.
But those things will stick like in my mind, and like unfortunately, I'll be able to like think back and be like, "Oh shit, yeah, that was fucked up." But so I think I'm gonna give it a 2 overall, because really like those last like 20 minutes were done like with the low budget, like somebody was able to capture that, and I wish they could have at least, if nothing else, fulfilled that from a filmmaking standpoint, because obviously this looks like very low budget, and like they weren't enough to pay like decent actors and actresses, and they kind of settled on this type of format that I wasn't really a fan of. And I feel like with such a low budget, they could have done better just keeping it more VHS style, with maybe a little bit of like a tie-in with like somebody describing, like maybe just one police officer or something like on the case, like
Yeah.
kind of going through this or something. Felt like that would have been more effective. But a lot of this movie just like was not able to pull me in at all. I could see like all the strings. Like I never felt like I wasn't watching a movie until the very end. So it's kind of a bummer to see like the potential this movie could be, even though that potential is really fucked up. But I got to give some credit where credit is due. Like this, some of these scenes gave me a real physical reaction with minimum money, minimum kind of effects and stuff like that. And so I gotta like, give a nod to that. Good on you, because I've seen a lot at this point, 4 years in, just to straight chilling. And even before that, like I've seen a lot of shit now. So to like make me go like, oh fuck, like that takes something. So, I'll give it a 2-star.
Cool. Mikey, how do you feel out of 5?
I'm kind of with Justin. I had it in my mind I was going to give it a 2 also. I do respect the fact, because I was a fan of like Unsolved Mysteries and Sightings and all those shows growing up. So I appreciate the fact of how they filmed it, and basically made a hour and 20-minute long version of like an episode like that. Just like what we said in the beginning of the podcast, it's like a lot of the stuff did hit too close to home. I can go the rest of, I've seen this movie twice now. I can go the rest of my life not watching it again. I think 2's kind of fair.
All right.
Uh-oh.
I'm so surprised
You have this fucking look on your
by
face.
what's
right
about
now.
to happen right now.
Bob, whoa.
He's gonna give
I know this whole cast has been like a turn of like everybody's expectations. I'm asking for
Yeah.
more fucked up things, and Bob's probably about to give this like a 5-star or some shit.
I'm going to give it a 4. A 4.
Wow.
So this movie, I watched it once prior to this. I bought the Blu-ray when it came out on Screen Factory. I watched it totally alone, just like one random afternoon. And when it was over, I was just like, Jesus Christ, I need a shower. And like, I planned never to watch it again, to the point where I just gave it to Mikey. Actually, I was like, dude, take this. I'm literally never gonna watch it again. You can have it. And he watched it, and then of course I had to rewatch it because we had to talk about it on the show. So this is the second viewing I had.
So you bought it again?
No, I bought another Blu-ray. So I mean, even on the second watch, it was still very effective. It made it better that Mikey and I watched it together this time, which definitely helped. But
yeah,
it's just like, for what it's trying to be. Even though there are like a couple scenes that are a little bit of cheeseball, like a couple lines that are maybe, I don't know, not pulled off as well as they could be. But what it's trying to be, and like what the filmmakers are trying to do, I feel like they achieved it just like so well. Like for me personally, I find this movie to be like truly effective, and it sticks with me like in a way that most movies don't. There's a lot of like small scenes in here that just like get kind of burned in your mind. Like one of the very first things you see is like this night shot. It's like all green, like night vision shot or whatever. And there's just like this noose that's tied to a corpse, and the corpse just gets pulled out of the grave by a car. And that's like right before the title card drops.
Totally forgot about that.
It's just like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
quick like little things like that. That maybe you could forget about, but they just get kind of seared in my brain. I don't know. It's just it has stuck with me, and I believe it will continue to do so. I give it a 4 mainly because like I said, there are some like ham-fisted lines going on here, and also for the fact that I just truly do not enjoy watching this movie. I'm giving it such a high rating based on the fact that I think that it was they made a lot with a little, and I feel like they probably truly achieved their vision here, and it's I don't know. I think it's one to watch, man. I really do. So it's going to be a 4 for me, and the aggregate's going to be a 2.7. Let's go ahead and get into the Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say about the Poughkeepsie tapes. Juice, take it away.
All right, it's going to be a special kind of segment today because there's no official like Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics. So what I have to do is I have to manufacture one because there are some critic reviews. And so what I'm going to say is there are less than 10 reviews. So we'll go around and we'll see what you guys can guess from that. And then I will reveal the truth behind it. So
less than 10.
Yeah, there are less than 10. If I said any more, it would make it too easy. So,
gotcha.
So there are less than 10. Kick us off, Bob. What do you think the critics rated this movie?
I, for some reason, would be very surprised if it was high at all. I am going to go with a 40, I think.
40, okay.
Yeah.
Mikey, where are you going to take it?
I think the same thing he does, especially too with the fact that it was pulled so many times on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 36.
36, okay. Mikey's gonna take it. So I said there's less than 10. There's 3.
Oh, shit.
2 are rotten, 1 are fresh, so we're gonna kick it at like a 33%.
Damn.
So Mikey got real close to the 36. Yeah, it's not good, as you can imagine. The one positive one, it's the killer's bizarre motivations that truly terrify, is what Jason Morgan at filmcritic.com had to say. As you can imagine, the other ones are just like, oh, it's close up, throat slitting, the terrible things about this movie. So
the killer's motivations that we don't really know.
It's the killer's bizarre motivations that truly terrify. So I guess like the motivations of, I guess since they're like sporadic, I guess.
Yeah, I was saying we didn't really get much of a motive.
No, I guess like their motivations, but I mean, we do see him like grooming this girl, I guess, like for a long time. That could be it. I mean, we don't like know the motivations. I guess more of like the end result. I don't know. Like you can kind of imply, I guess. But
He likes playing head games.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a fucking psychopath.
So either way, not positive on the critic side, even though there's barely any to count. So let's get into the audience score, where we actually do have a decent sample size for this movie. For the audience, we have a user rating 28,000. Surprisingly, people have gone on to Rotten Tomatoes, and reviewed this movie. So we'll let Mikey go first this time. Mikey, of the 28,000 poor souls who have seen this film, including ourselves, what do you think they rated this movie?
That's a lot of people.
Yes, I'm surprised.
44.
44, okay. Robert?
I'm going to go a little higher on this one. I think the Poughkeepsie Tapes has like that reputation, like I mentioned, its name kind of rings out. I think I'm going to go with a 60.
60. And what was yours, Mikey? 44?
Yes.
Okay. Mikey's going to take it again. Fuck you, Bob. Amateur hour over here. It is sitting. Whoa. It is sitting at a 50. Whoa. It is sitting at a 50%. So average rating 3 out of 5. So closer to Bob's 60 and pretty close to the old Straight Chilling crew today at the 2.7 out of 5. But overall audience score is split 50-50 of the surprisingly high 28,000 people who have reviewed it. So yes, 50% on the audience score, technically 33% on the critic score.
Cool.
And that's Rotten Tomatoes, bitches.
Ray's not here for trivia. I looked up some. We already talked about how this was pulled multiple times and it finally got like a wide release on DVD and Blu-ray a couple years ago. That was like the main bit of trivia. It was also shot in 15 days. And also the whole Cheryl's stump of an arm, that effect was made using a green screen and a glove, which, that's
it actually looked pretty good. Does it have a budget for this film?
Oh, I don't know. Let me see if it does. Budge. Where is the budge? This is where you get to listen to me scroll.
I will say real quick, we talked about the film that we're going to do that we did an interview for. What was Cry for a Bad Man? Cry for the Bad Man, yeah.
Yeah.
And also in that movie, there's a really fucked up hand scene. So I was like, what the fuck is going on with hands this week? I got to watch all this fucked up hand shit. Or old Cheryl's. Yeah, I got her nub that she's like scratching around with, and Cry for the Bad Man's like got a really really fucked up hand scene that kind of lingers for a while. So I was like, well, hot damn.
Oh, Luke Skywalker has.
Just that kind of week, I suppose.
Getting real handsy over here on Straight Chilling. I can't find the budget. I don't know what it is. It's not high.
So whatever it is, it's plus a box of Hot Pockets for the son.
Yeah, legit. I was just about to say, factor in a couple Mickey D's cheeseburgers and to add on top.
20 grand and a box of Hot Pockets. That's what it says on Rotten Tomatoes.
You can almost pay me that to do almost anything.
I'll pay you less. You'll like it.
Shut up.
You'll like it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into some horror news. Gentlemen, let's talk about some new shit. We watched a couple trailers. The first one I want to talk about is for a movie that's called Velvet Buzzsaw. It's coming to Netflix on February 1st. Written and directed by Dan Gilroy, who you may recall wrote and directed Nightcrawler in 2014. So this is the first thing coming from him. It's starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's got Toni Collette in it. John Malkovich, who I guess is getting a lot of fucking Netflix work now. Good old John. So there's some big names in here. The plot is as follows. After a series of paintings by an unknown artist are discovered, a supernatural force enacts revenge on those who have allowed their greed to get in the way of art. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about this trailer for Velvet Buzzsaw?
When we were watching it, my first thought was like when they showed like the monsters or creatures or whatever demonic entities are coming after them. It reminded me of. It just looked cheap, and it reminded me of like One Missed Call or Shudder, those American versions.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie that could have been what the hell is it like like one of those Japanese horror films made as with American actors, American
horror remakes.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. And now, and I don't know about you guys, but every time I see fucking Netflix exclusive, I don't get excited about it. Yeah. I don't think I've heard one. Well, I don't know. Like from what I've seen so far, nothing's really blew me away. A lot of it seems cheap to me. Like, yeah, they have.
It seem like mediocre or something.
Yeah, like they have they get big names, like Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, he's popular, but for the most part, when I watch these movies, I feel like the settings and just where it's filmed at, it's like maybe one big like factory building, and that's all you're gonna get. Like I feel like it's very bare minimum.
One location.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. I see through you motherfuckers.
You ain't fooling me.
Yeah, so I personally I'm not very excited about it. I might watch it, but after hearing all the excitement of like what Bird Box, like which I don't plan on watching anytime soon, I just can't get excited about this shit.
Yeah, I am cautiously optimistic. I feel similarly to you, not as harshly as you do overall as far as like Netflix original stuff goes. Some of it I think is actually really good. I did watch Bird Box. It was fine. It did not feel cheap at all. And I know what you're saying. Some of these movies do feel like they're shot in one location on like a shoestring budget. This one doesn't really look that way to me, but I have come across this issue in regarding like some of the more recent Netflix original movies. They just feel like way too long and bloated, and like the plot is kind of meandering, and they don't seem to get down to like the core of what would make the story effective. There's just like this fluff. Like they don't have. I don't know if maybe like whoever's like writing and directing it is also editing it. Like there just needs to be somebody needs to be playing goalie here and like saying no. And it seems like some of these movies, Netflix is just like dropping money in somebody's lap, and they're saying, go do whatever the fuck you want, and which is cool in one way because you get movies that you would never get from a major studio that way, but also they just feel kind of I don't know, bloated in a way that gets it. They seem to get in their own way, I think. Like what was that movie? The Apostle, Justin. You really like the Apostle? I felt that way about the Apostle. I just felt like it got in its own way. If it was a little
there were some like you kind of said, it might need like a little more heavy hand to say like maybe leave this out or refinement. It feels like unrefined. Like it's like good. You got good ideas, and now like Netflix is putting some money behind it. But since they're leaving like the oversight kind of out, they're not as refined as they should be. So you get things that are like, well, that was pretty good. Like you could see the core ideas behind it, but then it gets like maybe a little muddy and you're like, but I didn't like these parts. And then it's like, well, if you just like, could hone it in a little better, you'd have like some like really solid stuff. But instead you just end up with a whole lot of like middle of the road kind of feeling kind of stuff. But
that movie Hold the Dark, I felt the same way about that, which is what's his face? I forget the director's name. The guy who did Blue Ruin and Green Room and Murder Party. Hold the Dark is easily my least favorite of all of those. It felt like way too bloated, man. Like just boil it down.
Yeah,
less is more. Yeah. Yep.
For some reason, this movie or this trailer gave me like kind of this like 90s horror vibe. Because they were kind of leaning into the cheese a little bit, or like leaning into the art kills you. Like that's kind of like just the premise itself is kind of ridiculous, but they like really lean into it, even to the point of like one of the things that kind of like reminded me of just like the 90s of like not giving a fuck is like he painted these pictures with like human blood, like, you know, that kind of like basic ass thing, but they were like owning it. And even like, and some of like the title cards, like at the end where it was like saying like Jake Gyllenhaal and shit, like the color palette that they used, I was like, what the fuck is this, like Nickelodeon? Like, I don't like the bright ass colors and the font that they used. I was just like, are they kind of like leaning into this like 90s kind of style now to kind of maybe capture on that kind of feeling, is what I got from it. The only thing that like really intrigues me is it was like writer and director from Nightcrawler, which I thought was just a really well done movie, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought Jake Gyllenhaal did like a good job in his role in that. So I was like, well, I mean, you know, I gotta, you know, I don't know, that piqued my interest. So, but I mean, if I just took it at base value, yeah, it looked pretty basic and like not great. But all of those kind of factors together have me at least like a little bit intrigued, curious, you know? I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. I'll definitely watch it. I don't know. Hopefully it isn't bloated. Hopefully it's a tight, effective movie. And I really like Jake Gyllenhaal. Really, I like pretty much everything I've seen him in. So that's enough for me. You know, it's on Netflix. I don't have to get up off my couch.
Yeah, he does such a good actor that since he's been in like roles where you want to hate him, you just kind of have that natural inclination because you're like, I mean, you did such a good job. Like, I have this feeling of kind of animosity towards you, but I think he does well. He does have a little bit of like a punchable face sometimes, but like
I guess.
But I think he is a good actor. So he's capable for sure.
And Toni Collette's in this. I mean, the cast is pretty incredible. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah. We watched another trailer. This time it's for a documentary, actually, that's going to be premiering on Shudder February, 7th? Yeah, Thursday, February 7th. It is going to be called Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror. So it is exactly what it sounds like. Pretty much they're going to go all the way back from the days where people were like in horror movies portraying black people as, you know, monsters, and then getting all the way up to like, you know, talking about Night of the Living Dead, where black people were first like portrayed as being heroines, and then like all the way up to modern day. You know, they get a lot of actors, actresses, filmmakers that are being interviewed. It looks like they talk about Blackula in the trailer. You know, Jordan Peele's in there. It looks like they interview him a bit. So, I mean, it looks like they're kind of all over the place, talking to a lot of interesting people. And I love that. I feel like Shudder is just like gonna, like they really hit their stride last year, and I feel like this year is gonna be like even better for them, with like Joe Bob doing a weekly thing. They've got you know, these documentaries coming out. They're gonna do their original Creep Show series that's gonna come out this year. Like they're putting out more original content, and it seems like everything that they produced originally seems to be very solid. And like, I don't know, I'm excited about this. I'm just kind of excited about Shudder in general. I don't know, how did you guys feel about the trailer for this?
I'd definitely watch it.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that whole thing, and just what all those actors and directors and what they all have to say about how the whole black culture and horror flicks has evolved over the years. I don't like, now they're no longer, you know, the first people to die in horror movies, as that stereotype went on.
Cliche.
Yeah, so, you know, it's definitely evolved. Changes definitely happened. So, yeah, I'm a fan of documentaries, so it's something I would definitely sit down and watch.
Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like a curious topic too, because even at one point he was like, you know, it started with like we were playing pimps and hoes and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm glad, like from two standpoints, like I'm glad that it's got this specific focus on horror, but I'm curious too at the same point as to like how that would help and just the overall look in film in general, you know. So to have this like hopefully well done, well researched documentary that has like the horror aspect, and it would be cool to have like a follow up like film in general, and like I would be curious like how that like ties in together, and like how those roles are kind of betrayed and have evolved over time as well. So I do like that it's horror specific and how it can kind of contribute to that, but I would still like to see like an overall, or I would be curious to find another type of documentary to kind of compare and contrast at like a wider view as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. It's something that I'll definitely check out, and I'm sure it'll educate me. I don't know. One cool thing about like watching horror movies like throughout the decades, you know, you can kind of see like if you boil them down like the greatest of each decade, you can kind of like distill what the sort of collective fears are for like that decade, or like what's on people's minds or whatnot. And I think that's something that I'm sure they'll like talk about in this documentary. And it's like one of the cool things that I think you can say about horror movies that you probably can't say about most other genres, you know, that's kind of, obviously it's specifically dealing with fears, you know, so it kind of, you can pick that out. The last bit of news that we have to talk about, Scream Factory. Oh, Scream Factory.
They dropped the ball this time.
Yeah, they're all up on the peyote. They're taking the peyote.
Dude,
they're smoking the drugs.
Such a hot streak ever since what, last September?
Yeah.
And this shit?
They've been raping my bank account, but no more. I say the nay-no. They're putting out a collector's edition of Eli Roth's cannibal film, The Green Inferno.
I love Rob hates, Rob's hate for Eli Roth is comparable to my hate for Rob Zombie. It reaches like, I feel like sometimes it reaches like irrational levels to where I don't particularly like Eli Roth either, but Rob like really seems to like searingly like hate him, and I love that that's a thing, because sometimes I feel like my searing hate for Rob Zombie is just lost sometimes. So
yeah, like,
I'm glad that there's another flame out there.
Yeah, he doesn't bother me as like. I mean,
yeah,
movies aren't great, but
no, yeah, that's kind of the feeling I have. I'm like, yeah, Eli Roth, like he's not great. He's like, he's got his shticks, you know, and they're not particularly appealing to me, so I just kind of avoid his movie. But Rob hates him in the way that I hate Rob Zombie, so I can appreciate that hate.
It is fun.
For some reason, Rob Zombie, I don't really care for his movies, but I feel like I could sit down and have a beer with Rob Zombie and probably have a cool discussion, you know, talk about whatever, music or whatever. Eli Roth just seems like a fucking dude bro frat boy who's like, check out this fucked up shit, am I right? Ha ha ha, high five it, fuck your mom. Mic drop. Like, maybe I'm wrong. But for some reason, I just am not a fan of his movies, and I also have that like weird perception of his personality. And this is, I don't know, this movie just, I haven't heard anything good about it. To be totally upfront, I have not seen The Green Inferno. I've seen all of his other movies, but I have not seen The Green Inferno.
This movie did not need Scream Factory's.
Yeah, it seems out of place.
No, it didn't need it. It didn't need a release. Yeah, the fucking slipcover and the art is cool looking, but for a $25, $30 release, and they're so desperate to sell this shit too. What they're giving away an autographed copy of the movie or a poster from Eli Roth.
If you buy it from their website directly, your copy will be autographed by Eli Roth. And this is also coming with a CD of the soundtrack, which I guess is cool sounding. I don't know.
I've seen this movie like 3 times. I don't remember a cool soundtrack.
I don't know. I guess I need to watch this before I can really complain about it. But it's coming out April 23rd, and it just seems wrong to me. I was personally offended.
There's so many other cool movies that they could have released. They did not need to do this.
That was a joke, by the way. I was not.
I know.
Yeah,
I love it, though. You gotta feed the flame. We need to cover it. Somebody needs to get on Patreon, make us watch Green Inferno, apparently. Listen to Bob lose control.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the man. Not into it.
We need those Eli Roth lovers out there, you know, the fan club, to pitch in $10 and stick it to Bob.
Stick it to the man. Damn the man.
Justin, make that your next poll pick.
Maybe, yeah. Actually,
see how many people.
You know what? March is coming up. Maybe we need to do something like a green theme, and green.
Oh, yeah, like the Leprechaun, Green Inferno.
We could.
There we go. We have covered Leprechaun before, haven't we?
Yeah, that was one of our old.
Yeah, but not Leprechaun
Reviews.
2. So
Actually,
Oh, there you go.
actually, you know what? I think we watched Leprechaun and we intended to record a show on it, and then when it was over, we were all like, "Fucking nothing to say about that." And
I actually
didn't
think
record
you're
a
right
show.
and didn't. We were just like, nah, fuck it.
Just do Leprechaun in the Hood.
I think you're
I've never
right.
seen it.
I think you're right.
That is very funny. We were talking like off mic about it, Justin, and I, like just trying to come up with different poll pick topics for like the rest of the year. We're like, wouldn't it be funny if each month we were like, you know, we picked exclusively like movies that Justin would hate, movies that Andy would
Yeah.
hate. movies
At
that
least
Bob
like
would
3 months out of this year, like if we spaced them out, like, oh, April, August, and like November or something like that. This month is movies that Randy would hate. Because I have so many movies like on stop. And the thing is, Randy would have to pick a movie, and like you got to be honest about it, you know, like, oh, I certainly would hate watching this movie. So I think that would be really funny. We got to get on that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's pretty much it for the regular show. Like I said earlier, we had a guest on the show talking about his movie Cry for the Bad Man, Mr. Samuel Farmer, local filmmaker, cool guy. I'm going to go ahead and plug the interview in right here that we did with him. Just a reminder, the premiere of Cry for the Bad Man is going to be at Sunrise Cinema in Jacksonville, Florida, this Saturday, the 19th at 2 o'clock. Be there or be square. Definitely buy your ticket in advance if you want to go. It will sell out. Camille Keaton, the star of the movie, is going to be there. We're going to be having a Q&A afterwards. You're going to be able to shake some hands. And there's most likely going to be a bit of an after party as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Without further ado, here goes the interview with Sam. And if you are watching us on YouTube,
Yes, this will have a separate video feed. So just go
yes.
to our little search, and it's going to be really close to either before or right after this recording. So
Yeah, you can watch the interview just in a separate video on YouTube for sure.
Also, if you notice me shaking, I don't have a disease or anything. I just have to pee real bad.
Oh, okay. Cool.
'Cause I noticed I've been like doing the
Squirming?
shivers. Yeah.
You all right, dog?
Yeah.
You need a hit?
Nah.
All right.
you need to hit up Randy Gandy G Landy.
Yeah.
You know?
Hit
He's
him.
doing those hookers and banging that blow.
That's
That's right.
he's doing the hookers. I'm gonna do me a hooker. Do me a hooker. So yeah, again, a big thanks to Sam for stopping by and chatting with us. Can't wait for the premiere of your brand new movie, Cry for the Bad Man. Again, this Saturday in Jacksonville, Florida, at Sunrise Cinema. That's the 19th at 2 o'clock. Be there. You won't want to miss it. We're going to be back next week with a brand new review. We're going to be talking about our first new movie of 2019, the M. Night Shyamalan smash hit Glass.
Oh, talk about a director I fucking hate.
Bob is like, I feel bad for Bob. I feel bad for Bob because I know the way he talks about it and everything. He already put it in his top 10 of 2019. Like he's not going in with the right mentality. He's setting himself up for failure. I feel bad for the man.
I do not trust M. Night Shyamalan. I'm still gonna waste my $12 and watch the movie, but I personally think this movie's gonna be shit.
Yeah, we're covering it, and I'm seeing it. Luckily, it comes out the same time in Korea, so I don't have to watch some Bobo-ass ripped version. But I feel bad for Bob. I've got my mind straight. I know I'm no fool. Okay, I'm no fool. I know. At least I have set a base expectation. Poor Bob, man. Top 10 of 2019. He's stoked. He's excited.
I don't know. I think I will be surprised if it's like a train wreck, like a pun intended, I guess. If it's like a total piece of shit, I'll be surprised. I do see, like, you know, I'm not totally ignorant to the fact that it could be terrible because we're dealing with M. Night here. He's made great movies. He's made piles of shit. However, I will say I really like The Visit and I really like Split. I feel like if he knocks this one out of the park, I'll be all in again. I'll be wearing the M Night T-shirts or whatever. I'll be all in.
God
But
damn.
I'm not totally sold. I'm hoping on a star, wishing on a star.
Feel
But
bad
I'm
for
not
you,
totally
my
sold.
friend.
God damn. We'll see. We'll see.
1 week's time.
Yeah. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Every time you rate and review us, it helps people find us that don't know we exist. It's an easy way to support the show. We truly fucking appreciate it, and it really does help. You can follow us on Twitter at str8_chilling. We are on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join our Slack channel, hit me up on any one of those social media platforms and say so. I'll send you a link so you can jump on Slack and talk about the movie that we reviewed that week, among many other spooky topics, video games, what have you. It's a lot of fun. It's fun for the whole week. You get to talk to us the whole week. Don't you want that? Don't you need that?
You do.
Michael, don't you
Damn,
need
Bob's
it?
really
Oh,
like
yeah.
creeping this out, but it actually
Yeah.
is a pretty good time.
It's unintentional. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, actually.
Like right now we're talking about all the possibility, like somebody posted a Bandersnatch like tree or whatever, like if you choose this it goes here, if you choose this
Yeah.
it goes here, and we talk about all kinds of topics. We've been talking about, I don't know, all kind of things, music and movies and TV shows and video games and everything.
The Twitch, talking about the twitching. But yeah, that's it. I think that's everything that I have to show for this week. So until next time, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling. TV time. Do it. Believe yourself.